welcome to another episode of the Car Girls Show. I'm Jessie Kessel here with my co-host Janice Showers from
Janice
the Car
Showers.
Girls. Yeah, so today we wanted to do something a little bit different than what we normally do.
Yeah.
We're here sitting on the couch, and we've had a lot of questions about our history, about kind of our journey in the auto industry, but not just in the auto industry, but as women, as mothers, as entrepreneurs, right? Building a business and a brand and all that stuff.
Yep.
So, we wanted to kind of just kick it back a little and talk to you guys about what we've gone through separately and together, what our journey has been. And hopefully it helps some of you who might be considering opening up your business or who might be operating as a business within a business, what it takes, and maybe some, golden nuggets and tidbits about what you can do to become more successful in your industry or in your line of work, right? Mm-hmm. So how Janice and I met, we met, 5 years ago?
We had a couple mutual connections.
We were both living in Aurora at the time. Mm-hmm. And we were both women in the auto industry, which is not so common. We had a few things in common, and I eventually ended up working for Janice.
Yeah, and I was excited to hire Jessie. The minute I met her and talked to her, and I knew about her skills, there's not very we have a lot in common.
Yeah,
so. There's not very many women.
We were like high school girls. Like as soon as we you just
excited.
Connect with people.
Yeah, well, we were so excited because we were both into automotive marketing, digital, helping dealers move the needle. It's a very laser focused category that we're both very interested in.
Yeah,
so.
We did a lot of really great things together. We worked well together. And what ended up happening was that something in me just, I always knew.
Jessie helped grow my company. There is no doubt about that. Jessie brought a lot of business to the table, to my company. She brought me connections. She brought me work. Now, we kept the work because we worked our asses off.
Yeah, and you were legit good at what you guys do.
Yeah,
so
hey,
why wouldn't people stay, right?
Yeah,
and like I said, we did a lot of really great work together, and we built up your business, and I loved it. I really loved it. And one of the hardest things, Gary Vee talks about this whole self-awareness, and I had to
Gary Vee, this is your fault.
This is your fault.
Jessie watched too much Gary Vee. She missed the part about having patience.
This is true. And Janice always tells me this.
Patience, grasshopper.
Yeah, it's so true. It's so true. I ended up leaving Janice.
She quit.
I quit to start my own company because,
little
did I know what it actually took to run a company.
I was upset.
Janice made it look a little easier than it was. And then, you start your own company and you realize, holy shit. Can I say that?
Yes.
There's
a lot involved.
There's so much involved. You really are wearing, all the different hats. And
but don't let that stop you people from being an entrepreneur. And that's one of the things we want to talk about. We want to encourage people, if you are interested in starting your own business, go for it. My first piece of advice, and Jessie, I'm sure you could speak to this, is planning. Start planning right now. Versus when I started out, there's tons of information online. Grab yourself a template for a business plan and start there and do the research. And instead of scrambling when you need it, that information's right there. So, for example, how are you going to handle your books? Who's going to be doing that? Who's your accountant? Who's looking after your taxes? Who's looking after your HST? If you're going to have people working for you, your EI, your workman's comp.
What services or product are you going to provide? What's your cost to doing that?
Your niche?
And how many people do you need to actually fulfill that work? Because you have to incorporate all of those things into it, right?
So looking at employees and your the competitive marketplace, what else is going on in the market and how you can fit in. A lot of times with your competitors, you can actually work with them with somebody you think as competition can actually really be an ally, which is what happened to Jessie and I. So I was upset when Jessie quit. We're telling our story.
She was just a tad upset with me for like a year.
I was, but for good reason. Jessie brought a lot of value to my company, and I was sad to see her go. I wanted her to stay. She didn't. It's funny. Jessie and I did these dream boards together. If everyone know what a dream board is, it's where you cut things out and you put them on a board and help you visualize where you see yourself wanting to go in a year from now and 5 years from now. It's a great tool. So Jessie and I had made a couple of these dream boards together.
I had it like displayed in my office.
In her office, which was in my
building
company.
Yeah.
Yes. And she left it behind when she left. So, and we had a set of stairs. And I was pretty upset when Jessie had left. When I took her dream board and I threw it down the stairs. I ended up throwing it out, which was probably kind of childish of me. But so Jessie, when we reconnected later on, and what did you say to me?
One conversation I was like, Janice, remember that dream board I had? Like, do you know where it is? And she kind of thought to herself, and she said, no, I don't know where it could be.
I don't know how.
And then a few weeks later, she confessed to me that she ripped it up and threw it down the stairs.
Yeah, I was feeling a bit guilty, okay. Kind of.
So this is part of business, is that you get emotional. You're emotionally invested in your company. It's like your baby, right?
Yeah.
And you're putting all your effort and all your heart into it. So I could never blame, Janice for feeling the way she did. I kind of, knew that was going to come, which is why I was extremely nervous, and it took me so long to even leave, because there was nothing wrong. We were doing amazing, right?
We were doing so
amazing. And it was so not about that. And sometimes that self-awareness, you have to look and kind of figure out what you want out of life. And just like you were working for other companies, and then, you ended up leaving and opening your own thing. So there's that growth and transition personally that you go through to really figure out what you want and what you don't want out of life, right?
Yeah. It's funny. Somebody on one of our shows posted, have you ever sold cars? Or what was the question? I don't think he meant it sarcastically.
Well, I think when he looked at two women, doing a show,
have we ever sold cars?
The question was, do you guys have any experience like selling cars? Have you ever stepped foot into a dealership? That's how I took it.
So that's funny, because we just we were talking about, messaging somebody and not looking at their profile, not being educated about who you're talking to. So if you looked at my profile, you would obviously see that I was a salesperson for about 15 years. I sold Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Eagle, Plymouth. Also the dealership that I worked, the group that I work for, we own a Hyundai, a Subaru, a Honda store, and an ever-changing used car inventory. But basically, I sold new Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Eagle, Plymouth. Chrysler kept changing
talk with
on
the best
me.
of them for
so
sure.
Absolutely, Chrysler Canada top 25 for a couple of years. That was a hard-earned position working in the Toronto market.
And this is what Janice tells me. Like, this ties into me, wanting to venture off and go on my own and do my own thing with my business. And what I lacked in maturity was the patience that you need to have to build something that's going to be long-term and long-lasting, and that's actually going to provide value, right? It's so deceiving when you see someone who's successful and you think, oh, I can do it. And then, you gotta go through your hardships, your ups and downs, and figuring things out. And
so where do you get the skills from? That's interesting. And don't be afraid to go back to school, which is something that I did. Mm-hmm. When I wanted to become a trainer, I didn't like the training I got in automotive. It was about men, war, sports. It didn't appeal to me. I couldn't relate to it. So I thought I can do better. I can do better than this. So I wanted to be a trainer. So one of the things I did is I took a program about starting your own business, and my business coach said, if you want to be a trainer, you need to go back to school to learn to be a trainer.
Right.
And I was thinking, well, geez, I know how to do it. Why can't I just train someone to do it? But they pushed me towards going back to school. So I went back to school. I am a certified adult educator / staff trainer. It is a certificate. I learned a ton, very invaluable. So if there is something you want to do in business, don't hesitate to go back to school. And that's what
you got to be okay.
It's just not going to happen overnight.
Yeah, and you got to be okay with knowing that you don't know everything. And you're not going to have all of the answers off the bat. It's just you're going to learn a lot of things as you go. And if you don't know, you have to commit to learning, right?
Commit to learning,
and
yes.
I mean, I didn't go back to school, but I have paid a lot of money to train myself.
A ton of courses.
I've taken a ton of online courses to really learn something. Honestly, things I would have never in a million years known how to do unless somebody showed me. And that's why you pay trainers, right?
You don't know what you don't know.
You don't know what you don't know. And that's why I opened Machete Academy, because, you know, it's our industry is different than other industries. And you need someone to show you the way, to show you what works, what doesn't work, how to do it that's specific to automotive, you know? So I've paid the money. I've invested a lot of time in learning it. And now
on the time, just on that note, and part of my story, when Gary Vaynerchuk, who I love, I talk a lot about Gary V. When I first started following him, and I had always wanted to run my own business ever since I was a little girl.
Same
with me.
Was
selling scratch pads on our front lawn, because that's what my dad did, and we had garage sales, and I was always a wheeler dealer. I wanted my own business, and I started my first business. My second business, the Car Girls.
And that's a good point, just before you get into it, is that most of us who are in business have had other businesses. Sure. I've had like 2 other businesses that I failed at, whatever. It maybe didn't go exactly, but I also didn't, I didn't want to pursue it further either. I didn't like it as much. So
I made $24,000 in my first year working at it full time. So it was a lot of work.
Oh, really?
For $24K. But so what I wanted to tell is that what I hear from people, I don't have time. I don't have a lot of time. One thing that Gary Vaynerchuk talks about that I really is something that I grabbed onto, because I was using that excuse. I don't have time to do this research, to start my own business. I have 2 kids. I have a husband. I have a house. I have a full-time big job, which I did. Where am I going to find time to do a business? Well, Gary said, have a really good, hard look at your schedule. You have time, okay? Stop watching,
Netflix.
Stop watching these big, long mega shows, playing video games.
Or getting stuck on YouTube.
So I really peeled back
Facebook
and I looked at that, and I thought, okay, my house quiets down about 8:30, 9 o'clock, where it's quiet. Yeah. And that would be a time that I probably would flip on the TV and just be a couch potato. So what I decided to do was dedicate that time, okay? And I really carved it out in stone. From 9 p.m. to midnight, I was going to work on my business. And that's what I did. And I did it for a year. Yeah. And I worked from home. My dining room was full of paperwork. And people come to my house now and go, wow, I didn't know you had such a great dining room. Well, it was full of a desk and a filing cabinet and papers. Now, finally, I have a couple of industrial units. I moved all my stuff out. But I put in the work. I put it in from 9 p.m. till midnight. I did it in my dining room.
Did you have anybody around you that said you couldn't do it or you shouldn't do it? And how did you handle that? Because I had to go through that as well. Whenever you come up with an idea and go, I want to do this on my own, and then people go, you want to leave a secure
it's
position.
Funny you say that, because my whole life people have been underestimating me, telling me I can't do it. So when somebody tells me I can't do it, maybe that's my personality. I'm like, oh yes, I can. So to me, that's almost positive encouragement when somebody says, you can't do this, you couldn't have your own business, you're not capable.
Yeah, you don't have time.
Watch me go.
Right.
So I love it when people say,
and I think when you have that fire, when you have that fire in you, you gotta run with it. You gotta, like, if that sparks something in you, it means it's there's passion there, right? It's passion, and it's telling you something. And so you know,
That being said, I don't want to be all negative because I had a lot of people really encourage me. And actually, Jesse and I have a mentor in common. His name is Fareed.
Fareed Ahmed of Dealer Solutions, North America now.
Yes, love Fareed.
Yeah.
When I was very young, I went to Fareed and I poured my heart out to him. And he was kind enough to take the time to listen to me. I told him I wanted to be a trainer back before when I was just selling cars. And he told me to go for it. He said, you can do it, Janice.
Yeah.
You can do anything you want to do.
Yeah.
And now I have a company with over 50 employees. So
and that's a big part of it as well is mentorship, right? And sometimes you don't even realize, but you have some pretty good people around you that are, very successful. Like I have my father-in-law, and I've never thought to tap into that. And I go, oh yeah, he's owned his own business for, 30 plus years. Like, why haven't I gone to him to ask him for some advice, Or, so you look around yourself and really start looking at to see like who can kind of guide you, right? And start asking questions. I mean, most people are pretty open to it. I know we are. If anybody comes to us and asks us for advice or anything like that, I mean,
have a plan, get started, get your business plan started. As I said, there's so many templates. All the information you gather, you've got a place to put it in the template of your business plan.
Right.
Just start building, carve out time, leverage your network, and know that you can do it. And I think we're probably a step ahead because being an entrepreneur is cool now. When I started anyway, it was people would just roll their eyes at you. You want to have your own business? Who do you think you are? But now I think with the internet, the playing field is very level and anybody can do it. You can get paid for what you know. And definitely doable. So back to Jesse and I's story. So we started, Jesse worked with me, it ended up with her quitting and me throwing her dream board down the stairs. I had some vendors, I had some suppliers who I was using. And I realized, I'm not quite sure how we got back together and I started using you. For your digital skills, I
think that maybe without you realizing it, you're a mentor to me, right? So I think I naturally kind of wanted to cling on to you and to your knowledge, and I think in just doing that kind of collaboration and wanting to help you still led to us going, okay, well, I have this skill set, you have these skill sets. I mean, I honestly believe that together you can be stronger. And like you were mentioning, not everyone who you might think is your competitor is actually your competitor when you really drill down into it. So strategic partnership, I think, plays a really key role in growing your business.
You can't do it all on your own.
You really can't. You just don't know what you don't know. And when you start talking to other people, you realize, how much more there is to know. So yeah, make sure you surround yourself with the right people and you won't be able to stay stagnant for sure.
So fast forward, Jesse and I are collaborating on the Car Girls Show, and we are supporting women in automotive. That's what this show is about as well. We're encouraging women to get into automotive, and we're collaborating on a few other projects strategically. Mm-hmm. We're working together that way.
And that doesn't mean that, this show is not, it's not to exclude men.
No,
this is actually, we're providing information that anybody can really benefit from. But we feel that there has been a lack of having a voice for women in our industry. And so we wanted to be that platform where we could all share and grow from. So
and bring you some Canadian female automotive marketing content, pretty specific, we know. And support on the floor. What I found as being a car salesman, which is what I am, that there's just not a lot of support for you out there, and that's what we want to support, that network.
That's right.
That group of people.
That basically is our little story. And now you know a little bit more about us. And like Janice and I said before, if you want to pick our brains and you want to connect with us, feel free to do so on any platform, Facebook, LinkedIn, wherever.
Us, like it, share us,
find
share
us.
Our page. We'd love
to support you guys any way we can. So till next time, we'll see you on the next episode of the Car Girl Show.
The Car Girl Show. Take care.